All right. Welcome, everybody. It's Tresa, and welcome back to another week of About My Book Business. I'm here today with my co host, Deborah C. Mortimer of Leap Forward Publishing. And today we have as a guest Pooja Arshanapally, who is the Content Repurposer. So we're going to hear from Pooja in a couple of minutes. But before we do that, we want to check in and let you all know what's been going on with each of us this week in our book business, and also just talk about a few topics that are related to the book business in general. Deborah, you want to start?
Sure. Hello, everyone. Um, Happy Tuesday. It's still the beginning of the week, so we still have a long ways to go. But for me, I don't think I have a whole lot going on. I've been meeting with some people talking about publishing. There's some people just having these great book ideas, and I've been kind of like fielding out different illustrators and working on my own book project. And that's really been it for me. Oh, and then we're starting the NASDAQ milestone in a couple of weeks. So if you go on my website, I think you find some information regarding that. And that's it for me. I'm pretty excited about what's going on. What about you?
Awesome. Yes. Well, and that milestone circles with the NASDAQ, I've started it already. I started last week.
Yeah.
And what's really great is that there's still an opportunity for any woman entrepreneurs to join. And I'll share that link with you all later. And you can check my website or you can check my LinkedIn posts. I shared some information about that earlier last week. So if you are a woman owned business, regardless of what type, then you should definitely submit your information to join the circle. They have cohorts starting all year long. So definitely encourage you to check that out. And as for me in business, I have a couple of clients. I've been very busy with media for my clients, which is really exciting. They're getting exposure for their books. One of my clients has the book came out earlier this year, and there's been a lot of momentum that's been building for her in her local community. She's based in Arkansas, and her book is focused on a very heavy topic, which is cancer. And so as we move closer to Breast Cancer Awareness Month, then I know there will be even more opportunities. So it's an important topic, not necessarily a fun one, but it is something that is important. So I'm excited about the momentum we're getting to get her visibility. And then I'm working on another launch, which is coming up soon, which will include a bunch of travel for my client. And so I'll be sharing more about that. And then, of course, I'm very excited because I'm going to be launching a line of greeting cards and stationery that's culturally inclusive.
Yeah.
And so I'll have more news about that in the coming weeks. But I'm very excited about that. So those things are coming up. And then I just wanted to share a couple of updates in the publishing world in general. I don't know if you all realize this, but they announced the Pulitzer Prize winners today for this year.
Hmm.
So it's an interesting list, and not enough diversity represented on that list still, but it's out there, and it is motivation and inspiration for all of us to aspire to do the best work that we can. And the other thing that's happening actually tomorrow that I want to share with you all too is that there is a great online discussion that's going to be taking place that's all about this very controversial issue. Well, it's not controversial for us, but
No.
it's
Oh,
controversial for people down here in Florida. It's all about the banned books. So there's a banned books panel taking place tomorrow online, so you can still join. I'm going to drop the link in the notes, and you can reserve a spot. It's tomorrow night at 7 o'clock online. It's going to be a great lineup. It's hosted by the Women's National Book Association, which is an organization where I'm a member and have been a member for years. And I've been on the board, and there are chapters all over the country. I highly encourage you all to get involved with it. But the panel on book banning is going to have someone from the Authors Guild,
hmm.
someone who's a former president of the ALA, booksellers, authors, publishers. So you're going to have this really great discussion about this really pressing topic right now. So that's something that's coming up tomorrow. I'm going to be on there. I hope y'all will be on there, but we got to make sure that we get this get the make people aware and just understand what's happening, why it's happening, and what we can do about it. So that's what's up with me. But and I kind of feel like the jumping off point for what we're doing as far as our conversation with Pooja is kind of a really nice segue
Mhm, mhm.
into those two topics, especially the Pulitzer Prize, like getting the writing done. So without further ado, we'll introduce you to Pooja Arshanapally, who is the content repurposer. And we'll let her tell you a little bit more about herself, and then we'll get into a conversation about the work that she does. Pooja, welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. So as I was like introduced as the content repurposer, I what I do is I help authors, especially for nonfiction authors. I take the content of their book and put it into different media formats, figure out how to spread their mission beyond the book itself, and be able to utilize the book and be able to spread the mission as well as like also help uh, integrate the book into other streams of income. So like for example, if someone is wanting to create the book and convert it into like a webinar, they could easily help create it into a different revenue stream, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Yeah. So how did you get into that, Pooja? What's your background?
Yeah, so I originally I've jumped so many different careers. So I had a degree in UI UX design. So it was more of like it's kind of just like if you're in tech, it's before you even code anything. There's UI UX designers who create all of the screens, do the research behind it. It's kind of helping like the tech people save money to make sure that the product that they're creating is valuable for and has a good experience for the people. And then from there, I couldn't find a job like as a UX designer, so I I ended up being in tech. So I actually started in front end development, which basically what I was doing was I was coding websites and apps, and I did that for 3 years. And during the pandemic, it was a lot of, it was just like because everything was online, the demand of what we needed was also a lot on us as well. So I was just getting tired of the job, and I decided to do stuff on the side, and I started a social media marketing. I started in social media marketing and doing that on the side while I was working my job. And then how I transitioned into authors and what I do now, it kind of started off by accident because I was working with authors on social media marketing. And I realized that there's so many other ways that they can take the book. And I think one thing is like a lot of authors, they don't want to come off too salesy, and they just don't disclose that they've written a book, especially if like they want to be seen as an expertise. That's one of the best ways to promote their book, but they just don't want to come off too aggressive. And there's so many ways to utilize the book, and I felt like social media marketing was only scratching the surface because there's so many different audiences, and not every audience is going to be on social media based on who they're trying to attract.
Hmm. Could you you said there's so many different ways, and you said webinars. So that's I think that's what a lot of people think of, especially professionals, coaches and so forth. What are some other ways that they can repurpose a bug?
I would say some people could go and do public speaking. Some people could use it as a podcast and make like solo, and just focusing on a specific topic. Kind of like it's just like taking one of the ideas and maybe extending it and going more in depth with that specific idea.
Mm,
Uh, Another way is I would say like blogs, email marketing. There's also, I'm trying to think, I think also like merchandise is another way.
What do you
Uh,
mean by that? Explain that a little bit more when you
so
say merchandise.
yeah, so I would say like, I'm trying to think of an example. So, okay. So for example, have you ever read the book Atomic Habits by James Clear?
Yes.
Okay,
Just
so
about
if you go on his website, he actually has a workbook um,
that.
that is aligned for someone to take habits or to write down the habits. And it's like, it's tailored where it's like a bullet journal, as well as like it's flexible enough for people to like freely write their habits, but it also has structure. But like that whole concept of how he created the book aligned with the values of the book itself. So it's not just a regular notebook that anyone can use. It's designed based on the book
On the book.
itself.
So
Right.
do you just work with adults or do you work with children's book authors? Because I mean, I'm thinking of a lot of merchandises when it comes to children's books as well. Do you work with them as well?
I would say right now I don't work in merchandise. There's so many ways. I would say I focus more on content marketing in that area realm, but I do work with children's book authors, and I focus more on the markets of educational content and then also motivational and self-development content.
Got it. Got
That's
it.
awesome. Well, because that means that you're talking about um, industry related publications for writers who want to do thought leadership and influence folks in their industry, or academically even.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
another great area that probably has a lot of opportunity for writers.
Right. Yeah, because I'm thinking with children's books, you're doing like I have a lesson plan for one of my books. That's a great way to market it. Lesson plans, speaking engagements, um, maybe even workshops with parents and teachers. So those are all different ways you can do it. My question is, are you advising these authors on just the different ways that they can repurpose, or are you also actually helping them create the content as well?
I would say like I do both. When it comes to creating the content, I usually like in some areas I'm able to help them, or I work with other people and collaborate with other people to help create the content for them as
Got
well.
it. Okay.
I love that. I mean, I can even see listicles. Like my, I think about a lot of times when I do my messaging, it's like 10 things based on, my 10th Muse brand. It's like 10 things for this or 10 things for that. And so creating listicles is a really great way to draw from something that is already exists and then just kind of put that into a different platform. I mean, uh, different media to find different audiences, because ultimately I guess that's the big question, is like, so what is, when people come to you, what are they looking to have, what problem are you solving for them?
Yeah, I would say when it comes to like creating a book, it can be hard. I think it is a huge investment, not only on your time but also like the cost. But I think one benefit is like if someone, because usually when you're doing a book for a nonfiction author, they're usually doing it for credibility, one way to level up their business.
Mm-hmm.
And but it's up to them, like after the launches that they have, it's up to them to do all the marketing expenses themselves. And some people like they hire like additional help to help them, like VAs, social media managers, and all that stuff. But what I've noticed is when I talk with them, they don't really have a certain direction or a certain like they're just kind of like winging it as they go, and they
Yeah.
don't have a certain core strategy. And usually a book is, it's a good way to start and build in the book inside of your marketing sense, because it's usually used as a marketing tool to get access to their um, bigger prices or their lead funnel and all that stuff. So it's like, why not integrate the book in your core marketing strategy so everything aligns with each other?
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. I
Yeah.
mean, a lot of times the authors, come and they listen to people who are not marketers to ask them how to do the things that they want to get the audience. And everybody's got an opinion, and those opinions are valid, but it's the strategy and a plan versus just kind of like being going right to the tactics, right? So a lot of times people just say, like, you, to your point, social media, just put it on social media. But everybody isn't on social media, believe it or not. And even if people have profiles like on LinkedIn, there are still only a small percentage of people who have profiles on LinkedIn that actually are on LinkedIn and active on LinkedIn. So they're still not going to catch your content if
Right.
you don't, if they're not on there. So that's a very good point. So, Pooja, how do you envision your business growing from where it is now? What do you think? What do you see as opportunities from where you are? I know you're just getting started, really.
Yeah, I am looking to like collaborate with more people and figure out how we can create more impact. Because right now, I would say I'm focusing more on content marketing, but I would love to like collaborate and see how far or what are the possibilities of knowing what is how much impact I can help someone by creating a marketing strategy or helping them offload like that huge problem of like how do I sell my book, because it is like I would say creating a book, it's a long-term investment, so it takes a long time for it to feel like you get your money's worth out of it. And I think like if you're able to integrate in your marketing strategy, you'll um, feel like it's worth it, or you feel like at least like you'll have like a set standard of how to provide your mission in other areas as well. And also, I know that from experience, like some people just prefer, like, for example, like when you read a book, there's so many different mediums on how to like ingest a book. Like there's audiobook, there's Kindle, there's paperback, but we still have these three different options for other people to consume it in the way that they want to consume it. And so by if you already have different streams of income, might as well integrate the message in the way that someone else wants to hear it.
That was going to be my
Yeah.
next question, whether we're focusing on ebooks or are you doing all the different mediums. But my question is, just had my question. Are you working with authors from the inception of the idea of writing a book, or do they already come to you with a book already in hand?
So it's usually after they publish the book. So they already have the book and they just need to know how to utilize it, or need to know what to do with the book, and how to integrate it into their marketing strategy.
Okay. And are
I
you doing,
love that. Mhm.
I love that idea. I love that.
Because it really means that, like, someone who's published something and it may have been months or years even, that since they've actually published the book and they're trying to revive interest in it and grow their audience because things have changed, or the sales have slowed down, and now instead of writing another book, it's like, let's go and look back in the book and see what those nuggets are that we can pull out and then elevate those and actually go back to selling more of the books that you've already published.
Or maybe even the industry has picked up, because how many times do you see something where no one was talking about a particular industry or whatever, but now all of a sudden it's hot, and they're like, well, wait a second, I wrote a book about that like
Yes.
5 years ago, so
Yeah.
now we can slap on a new cover and market it to the people who had never heard about it. But my other question is, do you deal with analytics to see what's working and what's not, and then kind of like maybe revise the plan if something is not working?
Yeah, I would say like specifically like even for like social media, it's like everything is based on the algorithm. So it's you're constantly having to revise and making sure what posts resonate. So I do have analytics. It just depends on what medium I like work in, because every type of metrics is different based on the platform that I choose to help my clients in.
Got it.
Well, and that just kind of goes to what I always say. At the end of the day, we own our website and our email and our email list. And so being able to leverage our content on those platforms also is a great way to build your brand and garner interest, right? If you're driving people back to a website where you can do a blog on a regular basis, where you are able to offer content through email, that's another way to really expand your audience and pull out segments of the book. Because I remember hearing, I think I've said this before, but Jack Canfield said recently, he said, people are more interested in you telling them what's in your book than what's actually in the book, which means that a lot of people don't even read your whole book anyway. So having an opportunity to find different ways to pull those key ideas that you want to share out of the book and putting them out there into the world. So you're directing people to this particular content is really, really valuable. And that is helpful to nonfiction authors, especially who are trying to position themselves and their brand and to gain confidence that they have a relationship with an audience that really is that's going to make an impact. Like you said, you want people, people are trying to make an impact with what they put out there.
Yeah. And I would say, like, I think it also, when it comes to like spreading a mission, it may seem like, because like I've talked with a lot of authors, it may seem like it be really repetitive to put it on each stream, but I think it's also like it to the author may seem like counterintuitive to like put it on every stream, because it's like, oh, this is so repetitive, I hear it so many times. But I think it's, for the audience, they need repetition.
Yeah.
Because they need that message to be reinforced.
Mm-hmm.
And if, like, let's say like it was like a long-term follower, and they have you on 3 different, like they have your email newsletter, they listen to your webinars from time to time, they are active on your YouTube channel, they're still like, it's just even reinforcing it even more through 3 different mediums.
Absolutely. And all the while, you're still picking up new members because there are people who are discovering you. You have the opportunity to be discovered as well. So having that, doing that repetition, I mean, that's a marketing principle, right? It used to be that you have to put out a message 7 times in order for somebody to receive it. And now I think it's up to 13 because there's so much noise out there.
Yeah, I heard that. But I mean, how many times do you see someone that they keep coming up? Maybe you don't follow them and they keep coming up in your algorithm, and you're like, okay, I'm seeing this person everywhere. Let me take a minute and see what they have to say, because maybe there's a reason. Maybe they have something important to say, like, because they seem to be everywhere. But also, everyone isn't on every platform. Like you have like the Gen Z doesn't want to be on Facebook. They said the Facebook is for the boomers, right? And then you have the millennials, the people who are Gen X or boomers or whatever. They're not on Instagram. So you have to hit all of them in order to get, if everyone is in your target audience, and you have to hit all of them in order to get to all of them.
But I also think that it's important, one of the things to point out is, especially for professionals, it is connecting with those industry media, because, CEOs aren't on any social media for the most part, unless like corporate CEOs, a lot of them aren't on the channels just because that's not where their focus is. And so understanding where those platforms are that they're connecting with, and making sure that your products get there, your content gets there, and your writing is a product. Making sure that it gets there is important, and especially for brand building, it's critical. Authors have to understand that they are in a business and they have a brand, and in order for them to truly scale and have impact, they have to be intentional, which is what you're talking about, right, Pooja?
Yeah. And I would say, like, especially, I think for anyone who wants to be an author or is currently an author, I think the perception is like the book will sell itself, which is, it's regardless of what route you choose, you are the one, you have to build a platform. Like you have to build your own platform to be able to market it yourself. And even if like you have additional help, or you have other people to help you, like you are the face of your brand and you are the one selling your book.
Yeah. And
Right.
that's what it's all about, a brand, because a lot of authors don't understand that you are a brand. They just think, well, I'm an author and I have a book. But it's building a, like you said before, Teresa, it's building a brand and building an audience and selling it. Your brands, we talked about last week with publishing, with the legal aspect of publishing, it's connecting a brand to products and services. And you can do that with as an author and get it out there. So yeah, your business, even if it's just you, the book.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's it. And so really being intentional about that is important. So what would you recommend, Pooja, for folks to get started, to think about working with you, and this idea of repurposing?
I would I would say like okay, so I read this book. It's called Be by Jessica Zwig, and she's really good at content repurposing. And I don't remember the name of this framework, but I would say like think of like one platform that your audience resonates with, and uh, you that is easy for you to do, um, and see like kind of just pick like one platform to uh, that is your base platform, your top platform, and then have different like mediums that support it. So like for example, let's say my like a podcast is my top content, then my secondary content is something that supports it, would be like an email marketing list. So
Hmm.
just kind of like building out the platform of like how can we be more intentional about like what medium I want to be on, before before I start marketing the book, and what is my long term. So like after I publish this book, what do I want to, what is my long term investment type of strategy to to upkeep this book or upkeep the message.
Mhm.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. When I hear you say that, it just makes me think that, even when you're talking about repurposing, you could even be talking about creating infographics, right? Or providing, updated research that's based on something you've written. All of that is content creation that could leverage the what you've already written. So there are those kinds of things. And then, of course, with audio, it's really interesting because then you could turn obviously your audio into written, something that's type, I should say it that way. So, in the publishing industry, we say that, books have a long tail. And, and that's what that means, is that it over time, you accumulate, your audience, and your audience may change, and your sales are long.
Mhm.
So you really have to be in it for the long term. It's not just something you just put out there and you press publish, and then people are going to find you and say, "Oh yeah," especially in this environment of Amazon.
Yeah, yeah. And then they work with you, Teresa, and they come up with that, they find out who their people are, and then you show them how to get there. So, yeah.
Know how to get there. And then I enlist people like Pooja who can, because, that's the collaboration. That's the beautiful part.
Yeah.
It's yes, there's the whole thing. And we need teams and we need collaboration because she has her finger on the pulse of certain things that I don't. And there's so much to know. And there are so many channels, right? So it's really an exciting time to be in the industry, to be in publishing. And at the same time, it can be overwhelming. It can be truly overwhelming for a lot of folks.
Yeah. I'm always excited when I see people, because now this is making me think back when I first started with my first book, and I saw people who were in like coaching business, and they had like a webinar, and they had talks, and they had the newsletters, and they had all this that they were working. I'm like, and I'm like, how are they doing all of this? How are they taking this one little book that maybe wasn't even 100 pages, and they've turned it into these ads and these webinars and these newsletters and this blog, and they're speaking here, and they're doing like they're just doing all the things. And now I know that they're working with people like you, Pooja, to put it all together and to find all those ways. Because honestly, I didn't know that there was something called a content repurposer. And now I'm so glad that I do know, because now it all makes sense how people are finding all the different ways to market themselves in their books. So that's great.
Yeah, repurposing content is such an important aspect of marketing and your content strategy. So that's it. And as I'm like listening to you and I'm listening to Pooja, and like I said, my 10 things, I'm like, okay, so 10 ways that you can repurpose your content. That'll be something that I'll follow up on, because I can't run them down right now. I don't know, between us, can we come up with 10?
I need that. I need to come up with
yes.
with that magic number of ways that I do things.
Mm-hmm.
You have 10. You have 10 on lock. I need to come up with a number for myself.
Yes. So do you have a particular process that you use or method that you use, Pooja, when you're working with your clients?
Yeah, so I would say like I first start with kind of just figure out like who their audience is and what are their goals out of the whole thing. But the process of just like actually getting into the content, I know like when we have like tools like AI, I still read the book. Like I know I still go through the book, and because I think like I do use AI to like as like a search, like kind of like a skim reader.
Mm-hmm.
After like reading the book, but I do read the book because I don't know if there's a tool out there right now that can give you all the details that you're looking for. And sometimes like you don't really know what details you're looking for until you read the book, and then you're like, oh, that's a good statement. So I first go through the book and like write all of like notes and anything I want to like capture and all that stuff, put that in a document, and then categorize it by each chapter, and like kind of like an Excel sheet,
Mm-hmm.
and just like start note taking different subjects, different patterns, or anything like that that I want to capture in it. And then I start creating like generating ideas of like based on this audience, what type of things would these type of content ideas would work, and like what best platforms if they don't have the platforms right off the bat. And then if they do have different platforms, like, okay, how can I integrate these ideas or these messages or anything like that into this marketing medium, or based on like what their goals are, and just try to collaborate in that way.
I love
Okay.
that. I love that. I do that too with my clients, where, it's, even thinking about, again, what kind of speaking opportunities, what conferences can they attend, where can they share their knowledge, um, and just how can they share their knowledge? Exactly, to that point. It's, and you said there's no tool for that. Yes, it's called your brain, and that will not be replaced by AI. Because AI can't make those connections, right? That's exactly the point. It's like there has to be that thinking aspect for any of us to read something and make connections in context
Mm-hmm.
of what's happening in the world. So I love that. Yeah. So I love you saying that, because that is, one more example of why, machines can't replace your your brain. They can't replace your thought processes. They can't replace, your experience and conceptualization skills. So that's the benefit of, working with you or me or Deborah, as opposed to simply relying on AI. But it's a great tool to have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to wrap up in a couple of minutes. So any last words or thoughts, Pooja, you want to share with the audience about what you do? And please tell folks how to get in touch with you.
Yeah, so I would say just to like I would say like don't especially when it comes to like online marketing, it can feel overwhelming because there's so many ways to market. And one way is just, I would say like just pick one platform that you want to just spend your focus on, and then just repurpose the content in other areas. And so you don't you'll feel less overwhelmed, and you'll be able to be more efficient on how you market things, and you won't feel like you're running in so many different directions. And then the last thing is, if you want to reach out to me, on all platforms, I go by the Content Repurposer. And you can also visit my website, thecontentrepurposer.com, as well, to see see what I offer as well. Um, yeah,
From a branding perspective, I have to say that it's absolutely amazing that you were able to get that URL. I love that you were
Yes.
just a branding perspective, because okay, that's it. If I Google that I'm looking for a content repurposer, then like you're popping up, and I think that that is just brilliant, brilliant, brilliant branding. That's all I gotta say about that.
Well said. I know, right? Your SEO is on point, right? That's great. Well, thanks so much, Pooja, for joining us
Yes,
today.
thank you.
Everybody, be sure to check out Pooja's website and follow her on all the socials. Connect with her if you are in need of her services. And I am truly grateful. And I know I will be reaching out to you because I'm going to need you too. And I think we all will at some
Yeah, I
point.
think so.
So,
Yeah.
and we will see you all next week. What's happening next week, Deb? I'm going to be solo. I'm going to be flying solo next week. So look for more details on what I'll be talking about. I'm sure I'll be talking about 10 of something. So everybody make sure to submit your questions or let me know what you want to hear about marketing and branding and PR as it relates to your book business. And thanks again, Pooja, for joining us. Deb,
Thank
you want to take us out?
Yes, thank you so much for joining us this week for our About My Book Business podcast. That's what it is. Yes. So glad. Oh wow, Zakia Austin says it was really brilliant. Oh, thank you. Um, that's right. We're on Facebook, right? We're now streaming on all platforms: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And if you're catching this at the end, you can watch the replay on YouTube at my book at About My Book Business. We will see you. I won't be here next week. Next week I'm celebrating a milestone birthday. I won't say what it is because I don't want to age myself. But I will be back the following week. And I want everyone to have a great week. And we'll see you again soon.
Soon. Bye, everybody. Take
Bye.
care. Have a great night.